Hello, and welcome to Character Class. Today, I'd like to take a closer look at spirit. That's right. For you, my viewer, who was eagerly awaiting my talking about spirit, the time has come. Now, spirit is one of the more ephemeral of the spheres, like prime and mind, and also time as well. It is rather quite interesting with everything that it can do. Now, spirit, there's a whole blurb here at the beginning. I'm not going to get into and read. It basically says that spirit exists between prime itself and the physical plane. That it is very much made of the ephemera and the plasm and whatnot is what defines all spiritual entities and spiritual locations in the Umbra and the Deep Umbra and all those other places in between. Talking about the gauntlet and whatnot in the Umbra, strange creatures and entities, etc., etc. Um, they do make mention of technological students of spirit magic instead study dimensional science, the ways to reach alternate worlds that coexist with this one. Though their means are different, the ends are the same. So technocrats call spirit dimensional sciences. They also call, I believe, prime is known as primal energy, I think. So we've got several layers of spheres to get through, 5 of course. Spirit is also one of those ones that once you start hitting the mid-range, things start getting interesting and more powerful, because spirit is very much the dealing with spiritual entities. As I mentioned before in another one of mine, in my Wraith video actually, that to go after Wraiths, I house rule it that you need spirit magic and mind magic in order to affect a Wraith, because a Wraith is a being of spirit and consciousness. To affect a werewolf, for example, you will need spirit and life, because a werewolf is not only just a living creature, it is also a spiritual creature as well. This is one of the house rules that I have. There is also the fact for changelings being creatures of the dreaming, and the dreaming being something that exists in the spiritual plane, albeit kind of off to its own. You need life, you need mind, because the dreaming is also a place of mind, and spirit to affect a changeling. They are a little bit more slippery of a creature to affect. Vampires, for example, you don't need spirit. However, you do need entropy, and you do need, I think, it's not life because they're not alive. They're undead. So I think it's matter and entropy you need both of in order to affect a vampire. At least if I remember my own house rules correctly. But that being said, we're going to dive in and check out level 1. Level 1 spirit is, of course, spirit senses. Initiates of spirit can sense the mirror umbra, the reflection of the material world into spirit energy. The initiate can see anima and ghosts, hear natural spirits, and sense places where the gauntlet between worlds thins or thickens. You can determine when an object has a powerful spirit component, like a mystic fetish. The mage's resonance pulls her most closely to objects, spirits, and places of similar resonance, but the mage can open to any spirit perception with effort. And then combined with other spheres, you can sense objects that have connections to the spirit world or that have been somehow translocated there. The mage can also either combine her vision of animas with an awareness of emotions and auras, or detect the places most favorable for converse with specific types of spirits, or where spirits might gather for energy. It's all very much in terms of sensory magic in spirit. You've got the detect possession, which of course you can detect whether another spirit rides within a material shell. You use your spirit perception to sense the offending spirit's presence in a person or object in the case of a fetish. You might not be able to do anything, but it's useful to tell if someone's actions are their own. So it's basically what it says on the box, detect possession, whether this is friendly possession or not. You also have spirit sight. It's usually a simple matter to shift one's sight into the spirit world. The mage can see what exists on the other side of the gauntlet, though he may not be able to affect it directly. Thus, a mage might notice an area that has a very nasty or vibrant spirit reflection, indicative of some sort of problem or boon. So it lets you basically look past the gauntlet into the spirit world and see what's on the other side. See how the spirit world is being affected, or what a spirit world in a certain location is like. And that can be cool. And those are the simple level 1 spheres. There's not much more to say about spirit senses other than that. It's sensory spirit magic. Anything you can do, anything you can sense in any of the other spheres in terms of like matter or forces or anything like that, or life or mind, you can sense via spirit with spirit magic, level 1. Level 2 is touch spirit. This is where things start getting interesting, because for a brief moment, the mage can reach out and touch the spirit world, manipulate spirit objects, interact with spirit entities, even pushing them around, conversing with or attacking them. The mage can affect the spirit world while remaining physical, extending his natural reach, voice, and form across into the next realm. So you don't go into the spirit world, but you can reach across it and affect the spirit world. Any way that you could affect the physical world, with level 2 spirit, you can reach across and affect the spiritual world. Whether that's attacking, uh, talking, placating, moving, um, opening a door, what have you in the spirit world, you can do that. There are all kinds of neat things. The 2 we have here is call spirit, which is basically if you know the name of a spirit, you can call across the gauntlet into the spirit realm and try and attract that spirit. That doesn't mean they're going to come, but you can try and attract a specific spirit if you know the name. This is where some knowledge comes in. But if you know the name of a spirit, you can try and call it to you and possibly get it to do something for you if you can coerce it. But this is what level 2 helps you with, getting your voice heard across the spirit world. Because just because a spirit is there doesn't mean it's going to know what's going on in the spirit in the material world. There is also the spirit's caress. You can reach across the gauntlet briefly to touch a spirit on the other side. You could strike a spirit or just interact with it while remaining otherwise physical. The effect is a perfect means of conflict if the spirit has no way to manifest in the material world to return the insult. Of course, the effect just allows the mage to affect the spirit. It doesn't guarantee the results of any of his physical actions. So, as I said, it lets you basically stay in the physical realm and affect things on the spiritual realm. Very simple, very direct, and to the point. You can do all kinds of things. Anything that you could do physically, like punching, kicking, grabbing, throwing away, anything you could do in the physical world. With level 2 spirit, you can do it in the spiritual world without crossing over. And that can be handy when dealing with spirits and poking around in the spiritual world. Combined with the prime effect bond of blood, the mage can share quintessence with the spirit, or ask it to give up power in exchange. Power is something a spirit has, which is basically works like quintessence. It's interchangeable. This tactic doesn't work as well with ghosts, although some wraiths have their own means of granting power to a mage, as the ancestor spirits of the Wu Lang can attest. Note that quintessence drawn from a spirit takes on the spirit's nature as its resonance, so it's best to deal with the spirit that does the sort of things the mage wants to do. Truth. Now, Level 3 is Pierce Gauntlet. Now this is where it allows you to cross over into the Umbra directly, physically. Uh, a skilled mage can pierce the gauntlet between worlds, stepping into the spirit world or back out into the material. The process of stepping sideways, as it's always called, relies on powerful rituals, and it works best at places of natural power. Even then, survival is not guaranteed. The gauntlet is a dangerous barrier to mages. Now, in the most recent Mage 20, they make mention of the Avatar Storm, which is also in this one. In this particular edition, the Avatar Storm was happening, and crossing the gauntlet would more or less do damage to you. I tend to play my mage campaign without the Avatar Storm because I want my mages to be able to go into the spirit world. I like the option of having them being able to go in without damage and crossing over and investigating the spirit world and dealing with spirits. I like that sort of thing. It's up to you and your ST, as an ST, I should say, to decide what you want to do with your spirit world. Do you want it to be harder to access, easier to access, impossible to access? That is entirely up to you. It's certainly one of the things that White Wolf encourages, because one of their golden rules is to not let the rules get in the way. They can translate themselves across the gauntlet, becoming pure ephemera, spirit matter. Bringing possessions takes more work, increases the difficulty. Where is it? While in the spirit worlds, the mage obeys the laws of those places, interacts with them normally. The mage can deal directly with spirits, but he can also exert his magic directly against them. Once in the spirit world, the mage can travel to other spirit destinations, often by taking pathways known to traditional lore. As the mage can alter the spirit world directly, he can also stir a spirit to wakefulness or lure it to slumber. Most objects and places have associated spirits, but the powerful gauntlet and lack of connection to the mortal world causes those spirits to sleep, uninterested in going on around them. And all kinds of fun stuff there. So, Awaken the Inanimate is the one that they were just talking about there. It is what lets you coax the spirit of an object or a place into wakefulness, to literally wake it up, wake up the spirit of something. How you do that is up to your specific tradition. They list a few suggestions in here. Once the spirits are awake and aware, they can be particularly useful. Personalities tend to be very protective of those who treated them well and ill-disposed to those who treated them badly. The object cannot really do much on its own, but it might cause small coincidences that work out for or against the mage. For example, if a Euthanatos were to rouse the spirit of his gun, it might misfire in the hands of an enemy. Likewise, an aware chantry house might take a dim view of burglars, especially if they broke in. Doors might slam, lights could go out or on, and the alarm system the burglars disarmed might short out and go off anyway. So, things like that for awakening the spirits in an object, especially if your mage is taking good care of it and treating it well, it can benefit you and hinder your enemies. Not saying it will, but it might. So it requires plenty of ritual successes, which is 5 or so for a gun, 20 or more for a house. Slow but often coincidental unless the mage wants an especially vulgar manifestation. The older and more psychically charged the object is, the more powerful its spirit and the harder it will be to rouse. Newer and less important item, the less powerful and less intelligent, but the easier to rouse. So it all depends on how you want to do it when it comes to rousing an object, if you want to do it. There's also stepping sideways, which is basically you push through the gauntlet and step directly into the near umbra. Werewolves need a reflective surface in order to step across into the umbra, but mages do not. Mages can simply push themselves through because they're using their magic, spirit magic, to affect that sort of thing. Then you've got Rend and Repair Gauntlet and Bind Spirits as level 4. Now, you can literally tear open a hole into the spirit world, right through the gauntlet with level 4. It's a lot like correspondence in that regards, where certain lower levels of correspondence let you teleport yourself, but the higher levels let you create a freestanding portal that anyone can step through, or anything. Same goes with level 4 spirit. You can create a, a tear in the gauntlet, an opening that anyone can cross through into the spirit world with level 4. But you can also repair holes that you find in the gauntlet as well and close them shut. Uh, I think it also extends to weakening and strengthening um, the gauntlet as well, but that might be later on. Uh, the mage's command over spirit matter allows him to place powerful bindings and summonings over spirits. The difficulty of such a feat varies with the spirit in question. So you can summon spirits with level 4 and bind them to objects. So you could summon a spirit of war and bind it to a knife, um, willingly or unwillingly. Now, one of the things to be of note is that uh, the werewolves like to have the willingness of a spirit that they bind into their fetishes. Mages don't need the willingness. Neither do werewolves technically, but werewolves tend to, unless they're corrupt, get the willingness of the spirit by appeasing it. Mages can get the willingness, it's up to them, but they don't have to. They can literally just summon and bind. And if they do that, the object will still work for the mage, but if you get the willingness, it might be a little bit better of a thing. It might be a little bit more apt to work better for you. It's just something to think about what type of a mage you want to be if you're into spirit. Um, a mage with this level of power can bring other people or objects into the or out of the Umbra. With other magic, the mage can empower freestanding gates or doorways that leave one section of the material world to enter a different area of the spirit world. Time differentials between spirit and material, or he can take control of the spirit directly and influence its actions and role. So that's with other magics. And you can do some nice things. Uh, However, as it says here, dealing with the spirit world in a cavalier manner can garner a mage many enemies, of course. So adepts must be judicious in their use of power. We have the affix gauntlet. Yes, I was right. Hardening the gauntlet in an area, the mage can cause any number of effects. He can trap a spirit into a place or object, create a ward that ejects a spirit from a space, or tightly control an environment and protect it against spirit entry. Successes scored on each effect generally raise the gauntlet, but they could have other consequences. By warding an area, a mage may prevent spirits from entering or leaving a space. Successes generate an area and a duration for such a ward. The ward exists in both the material and physical world. Any construct of ephemera cannot pass through it unless it can defeat the potency of the ward. So I was right. Level 4 lets you strengthen the gauntlet or weaken it in order to create that tear. An interlocking pattern of spirit energy that can trap a spirit in a place or force it out of an area. A mage's player must score more successes than the victim in a contested roll, etc., etc. Trapping a spirit in an object, and can place a spirit in possession of a body temporarily. All with level 4. So there's a lot you can do with level 4 spirit. Breach the Gauntlet is level 4 as well. Like stepping sideways, this capability lets mage cross into the spirit world, but he does it by tearing open a hole in the gauntlet. Or perhaps bringing spirit and material worlds completely together again by weakening the gauntlet to 0. For the duration of the effect, any being that's not specifically warded can travel the gate, entering or leaving the spirit world. A breach of the gauntlet is generally quite vulgar, but it can be the only way to get allies or sleepers without spirit skill into the Umbra. Normally this effect is very difficult. The difficulty varies with the strength of the gauntlet. So depending on the strength of the gauntlet, uh, which is usually extremely high in places like um, uh, science labs and places where technology tends to rule and reason tends to rule, and lower in places of wilderness or where there is um, mysticism and magic and whatnot. It usually also lowers by one if there is any supernaturals around. And we also have, oh wait, nope, that's later on. That's level 5. Now level 5 spirit is Forge Ephemera and Outward Journeys. The most advanced understanding of spirit allows the mage to shape ephemera as he desires. The mage can alter, destroy, or create spirit material, force it to obey his whims, or gift it with new powers. He can sense and affect the spirits of living beings and the dead alike, and journey to the farthest reaches of the spirit's world, defended by his own mastery. A simple spell enables the master to heal spirits and restore their power, which is a potent way to garner spirit allies. The mage can also reshape spirits as he desires, although particularly powerful spirits can take a long time to change. Most spirits will object to such treatment. Shaping spirit energy into desired form lets the mage create new realms, though the undertakings are massive and require a great deal of quintessence. Create places in the Umbra where he can shape the spirit world to his liking, even build new horizon realms, but most masters consider this feat extraordinarily difficult. Can sense and interact with the living soul, can now actually see the avatar of a living being. Avatars or sleepers are little more than dim motes of magical energy, but mages often have powerful and active avatars. Most horrifying, the Spirit Master can perform the Gilgul Rite, the vulgar magic that tears the victim's very avatar asunder and removes forever his powerful magic. This last spiritual ritual is one of the most guarded and feared powers, used only in extremis and as a punishment. Well, well, well. So we've got Break the Dream Shell. The Dream Shell is the Dream Speaker term for the Horizon. To enter the Deep Umbra, a mystic must break through this Dream Shell, just as she must break through the Gauntlet when stepping sideways. So you can't get to the Deep Umbra until you have level 5 Spirit, which will let you push past that boundary to get there. 10 successes or more are required to pierce the Earth Mother's Dream Shell. Other realms might have weaker or stronger horizons. If the mage uses an anchorhead, a special domain set amid the Dream Shell, the passage becomes easier. Fortunately, the Dream Shell is not overrun with flaying spirit energies, and crossing it does not carry the same inherent dangers as stepping sideways, which is where the Avatar Storm is. And then Deep Umbra travel. Surviving the utterly barren spiritual environment of the Deep Umbra requires a membrane of spirit magic. The spiritual essence creates a sort of bubble around the mage, protecting him from the ravages of Deep Umbra. So you need that in order to go out into the Deep Umbra itself. Spirit actually will protect you to do that. The Void Engineers, which are one of the technocrats with their dimensional sciences, build ships to travel to Deep Umbra. And those ships are what push past the gauntlet and carry the Void Engineers out into the Deep Umbra. But with level 5 Spirit, you can manipulate spirit energy. As it says, you can alter spirits, give them new powers, take powers away. You can create spirit realms, or possibly even, if you have high level of mind and high level of spirit, you can create a spirit yourself entirely from nothing, feeding it prime with high level prime and high level mind for a consciousness, high level spirit for a body. You can make yourself a spirit for the masters out there. That is possible. So yes, spirit. It is all about that good stuff. Now, the underworld being a wraith thing is not a deep umbral realm, but you need to know specifically where you're going in order to get there. Because just crossing the gauntlet into the Umbra is not the same as crossing the gauntlet and getting into the Shadowlands. The Shadowlands are a different mirror than the Umbra. There's a way to get there from the Umbra, but you need to know the way to get there. And as I mentioned with spirit, spirit energy is one of those things that can be used to affect Wraith, but you do need mind, at least the way I run things. Your ST might be different. So that's going to be it for this episode of Character Class. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope I've helped a little bit with my discussion and closer look at Spirit. It can do quite a few things. I ended up doing once, I had a character do a ritual which involved the the position of the planets in the sky over a course of an entire month. Every night he pulled this ritual off. So I was doing rolls, so many rolls, where every night he did this ritual on the grounds of a house that he owned, which was on a node, and he awoke the spirit of the house over a full lunar cycle, which culminated on the last day, which I believe was a new moon. I think it was a new moon. Um, and he awoke the spirit in this house because he wanted to have it protect itself. So it's a very potent spirit, very old house. Uh, and I garnered a lot of successes on that. These are the sorts of things that you can do with spirit, which is kind of cool. I always have liked spirit. Uh, Level 1 also lets you see auras, like Auspex, or one of the gifts that the werewolves have. Level 1, spirit is all you need to see auras of people, because it's spiritual senses. So you can see these things. So that is cool. So as I said, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. And throw a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think of Spirit, what your um, fun little things that you've done with Spirit are. Let's get a discussion going. And until next time, you all keep rolling, and I'll see you around.